Welcome to Unseen Narratives, the podcast where we pull back the veil on stories that challenge our understanding of the everyday. Today, we're delving into a fascinating account that blurs the lines between mundane reality and the truly inexplicable. A story that asks us to reconsider what it means to pay attention. We're talking about Aldersgate Station, specifically the 11:47 train. Imagine this scene. Late on a Thursday night in November, the last train pulling out, carrying a particular kind of passenger. These aren't your rush hour commuters. These are people coming home late, maybe from somewhere they shouldn't have been, or just working too long. They're all wrapped in their own private loneliness, a quiet agreement not to look at each other.
And it's that very isolation, that shared non-acknowledgement, that sets the stage for something truly unsettling. 6 of these passengers, all strangers, end up sitting across from a detective the next day, each telling the exact same impossible story.
The story centers around a woman in a cream-colored coat. She's young, mid-20s, dark hair worn loose. Patricia Lamb, a retired schoolteacher with a keen eye for detail, spots her first on the platform. She notes the coat is wrong for November, almost summery, moving with a strange lightness.
Strange lightness. That's the detail that really sticks, isn't it? It's not just a fashion faux pas, it's the first hint that something is off, that she doesn't quite conform to the physical laws of the world around her. Most people would dismiss that, but Patricia, with her teacher's trained eye, files it away.
While Daniel Osei, an architectural draftsman, is scrolling through emails, oblivious, Patricia is observing. The woman stands at the edge of the platform, looking down at the rails, calm, patient, slightly absent, like someone waiting for a bus.
But not in a troubling way, Patricia insists. That's a crucial distinction. It's not suicidal ideation, it's a profound detachment. This isn't someone actively seeking to end their journey, but someone whose journey already feels outside of time.
The train arrives, 4 minutes late, pulling out at 11:51. Carriage C, where our story unfolds, has 6 passengers. We have Daniel, Patricia, Tomas the art student, Ruth the hospital administrator, Jeffrey the retired civil servant, and Soraya the junior barrister. A cross-section of London life, each absorbed in their own world.
And then there's the 7th person. Nobody actively noticed her boarding. She's just there, standing near the connecting door to carriage B. The cream coat, dark hair, face turned slightly toward the window.
Jeffrey Crane, the former civil servant, is the first to become truly aware of her. He describes her as having the quality of a painting of a person rather than a person. Composed, arranged. He looks away, then looks back a minute later. She hasn't moved.
That's the chilling part, isn't it? The absolute stillness. It defies human nature. We shift, we fidget, we check our phones. To be utterly, perfectly still for minutes on end, it's immediately uncanny.
The train passes through a tunnel. The lights flicker, a common occurrence on the line. In that brief interval of dimness, Joffrey has the strong impression she turns and looks directly at him. But when the lights steady, she's facing the window again.
A momentary breach of that composed facade, then it snaps back into place. Was it the flickering light playing tricks, or a genuine moment of interaction from something beyond our understanding? The story deliberately leaves that ambiguous.
Tomas, the art student, notices her next. He's sketching the carriage, almost unconsciously. His pencil finds the woman near the connecting door, tracing her outline. But when he tries to check a detail, the exact angle of her shoulder, he can't quite resolve it. She's clear in his peripheral vision, but when he looks directly, she's indistinct at the center, the way a photograph is blurred where the subject moved.
So, a visual distortion. It's not just stillness, it's a refusal to solidify, to be fully perceived when directly observed. It's like she exists on the very edge of perception, a liminal figure.
He attributes it to fatigue and coffee, but Soraya Khalil, the junior barrister, brings her analytical attention to bear. She watches the woman for several minutes. No shifting weight, no phone check, no yawn. The absolute stillness of a stopped clock.
Soraya's training as a barrister, her ability to dissect a witness's testimony, makes her observation particularly potent. She's not easily swayed by emotion or suggestion. Her "excuse me" and "are you all right" are direct attempts to engage, to establish a factual interaction.
And the woman doesn't respond. That's when Patricia speaks up, confirming she's been like that since Aldersgate. Ruth and Jeffrey start to react. Then the train lurches. The lights stutter again. A paper coffee cup rolls in the aisle.
The sudden jolt, the momentary chaos of the train, acts as a kind of cinematic distraction, doesn't it? It draws everyone's attention for a split second. And when the carriage steadies and the lights hold,
the space near the connecting door is empty. Soraya immediately checks the gangway, then carriage B. Nothing. She comes back through. She's not there.
The collective dawning horror must have been profound. 6 people, all strangers, witnessing the impossible. And Jeffrey's quiet question, "Did anyone see her get on?" perfectly encapsulates the sudden, terrifying realization that this wasn't just someone who disappeared. It was someone who was never truly present in the first place.
The train's camera footage from carriage C, which covered the lower portion, showed the area near the connecting door as lit, empty, the door closed. This is where the objective evidence clashes directly with subjective experience.
And that's precisely where the skepticism, the human resistance to the unexplainable, really kicks in. Detective Inspector Clara Mwangi, the officer assigned to the case, has a professional allergy to unexplained things. She sees them as incomplete sentences. This is a woman who deals in facts, in logic, in processes.
She reviews all the station CCTV, ticket hall, escalators, platforms, street level. She widens the time frame. Nothing. No woman in a cream coat. The cameras, the objective observers, see nothing.
How does a detective, whose entire career is built on empirical evidence, reconcile 6 consistent witness accounts with absolutely zero corroborating visual proof? It's a fundamental challenge to her professional identity.
She calls Forrester, the station's duty manager, asking about November incidents on this line. Historical. This is a crucial pivot in the investigation. Forrester reveals the existence of a legacy incident record.
Legacy incident record. Such a wonderfully bureaucratic term for something so unsettling. It's the official way of saying, we have no explanation, but we've seen this before, and we're just going to log it and not escalate. It's a systemic mechanism for dismissing the unexplainable without actually denying it happened.
Forrester describes it as reports that don't fit the standard categories. The file isn't thick, but it has weight, the kind that comes from things that have been carefully not talked about. And the pattern is striking. November 2019, 2015, 2011, 2007, 2003, 1998, 1994. Consistent descriptions. Young woman, light-colored coat, dark hair, stillness.
The consistency is chilling. It's not isolated incidents. It's a recurring phenomenon, a pattern of experience that the system has, for decades, chosen to compartmentalize rather than confront. It's almost a form of institutional gaslighting, isn't it? Saying, your experience is valid enough to record, but not valid enough to investigate or acknowledge as real.
And within that file, the context emerges. Forrester explains the station's history, dating back to 1863. And then he tells Mwangi about Agnes Marsh, an incident in 1892. A young woman, 24, a domestic servant from the countryside. She was waiting for the late train. There was an accident. A goods wagon, uncoupled, came through the station at speed. She was on the platform.
So, a genuine tragedy, a real person with a real life whose journey was cut short in a horrifying, sudden way. She was going home for the first time in 3 years, had saved her money, written to her family. The letter arrived after she did. That detail just breaks your heart.
Her name was Agnes Marsh. This gives the ghost a history, identity. Forrester tells Mwangi this, not because I believe in anything in particular, but because the file requires context, and because your 6 passengers deserve an honest account of what the precedent suggests.
That's a powerful statement from Forrester. It's not about supernatural belief, but about human decency and the need for context, for narrative, even when the facts defy logic. He's saying, this is what we know, even if we can't explain it.
Mwangi then asks what the passengers who see her usually do afterward. Forrester replies, they go home, a bit quieter, some of them, a bit more careful about things. And when Mwangi asks, about what things, he says, about being somewhere, about noticing where they are and who's around them.
That's the real shift, isn't it? It's not about fear or confirmation of the afterlife. It's about a profound reorientation of their attention. Agnes Marsh was alone on that platform, and nobody was paying attention. Her tragedy becomes a catalyst for others to start paying attention.
This brings us to the after section, where we see the individual impact on the passengers. Patricia Lamb, the retired teacher, can't stop thinking about the coat. The strange precision of a dream image, the way it seemed slightly behind the air around it.
The coat becomes a symbol, almost. It's the first detail that registered as wrong, and it's the one that gnaws at her. It's the physical manifestation of Agnes's liminal state, something not quite fully there.
Patricia realizes she wasn't afraid, but sad. She ponders the woman's stillness, her quality of waiting. She connects it to the quiet students, her sister who died too late because she didn't want to make a fuss. This is her teacher's empathy kicking in.
It's the human angle, the deep well of empathy that Patricia as a teacher would have cultivated over decades. She sees Agnes not as a threat, but as someone profoundly unseen, someone waiting to be acknowledged. Her sadness is for the unfulfilled life, the unasked for help, the unwitnessed existence.
And this sadness drives her to action. She goes to the local archive, finding records of Agnes Marsh, second youngest of 5, domestic service, 7 years in London, sending money home. And the letters. Neat, careful letters in an educated hand, the writing of someone who had taught herself to be better than her circumstances expected.
That detail, taught herself to be better, it's so poignant. It speaks to Agnes's aspirations, her quiet determination to transcend her origins. And the last letter, I think of home more than I used to. I should like to see the fields again. I have saved enough now that I might visit for Christmas, if the family can spare me.
She was going home. Patricia sits with that, deeply affected. She prints the letter, folds it, and puts it in her coat pocket. This isn't just an intellectual exercise for her. It's a deeply personal connection, a form of active remembrance.
She's physically carrying a piece of Agnes's story with her. It's a symbolic act of witnessing, a tangible acknowledgement that Agnes existed, that her hopes were real, and that her journey was tragically interrupted. Patricia, in that moment, becomes the witness Agnes never had.
Then there's Tomas, the art student. He can't find the sketch of the woman in his notebook. He remembers drawing her, the gesture his hand made, but the paper is blank. No trace of graphite, no ghost of pressure.
The physical erasure of the drawing is fascinating. It's almost as if Agnes refuses to be captured by conventional means, even by art. She exists beyond the page, beyond the frame.
He draws her from memory instead. It comes easily, as if his hand had already learned her. He feels something he can't name, more like the feeling of finding an old photograph of someone you knew. He pins the drawing to his studio wall, keeps it for years.
So, while she can't be objectively captured, she can be subjectively remembered, even felt. The drawing from memory is a different kind of truth, an artistic truth that transcends the empirical. It speaks to the enduring impression she made, the way she etched herself into his consciousness.
Soraya Khalil, the junior barrister, files her official report with the British Transport Police. Precise, detailed, appropriately caveated, but she keeps a separate notebook for her personal interpretations.
This is where Soraya's analytical mind really shines, isn't it? She understands the rigid boundaries of official documentation, but she also recognizes the need to process the unquantifiable. She's creating her own legacy incident record, but one that acknowledges the subjective truth.
She writes, "The quality of her attention, she wasn't ignoring us. She simply wasn't oriented toward us. As if she were listening for something else, something on a frequency we couldn't hear. And then, I don't think she was there for us. I think we happened to be present for something that wasn't about us at all."
That's a profound insight. It reframes the entire encounter. Agnes isn't a ghost haunting them. They are merely incidental observers to her ongoing, solitary existence. She's not projecting her sadness onto them. She's simply being in their presence, pursuing her own unknowable purpose.
Soraya understands the difference between fact and interpretation, keeping them in separate columns. But she also understands that some things required both columns to be legible. That's a very practical, yet deeply philosophical approach to the unexplainable.
It's the barrister's recognition that the law at its core is about people, and people are not always reducible to facts. Some truths exist in the narrative, in the interpretation, in the human experience, even if they can't be proven in court.
Which leads us to part 4, Agnes, where the story shifts to her perspective. We learn about the stillness that has texture, the accumulated years of the station. Agnes Marsh, on that November night in 1892, thinking of her family, the fields, her mother's kitchen.
The story allows us to step into her shoes, to feel the weight of her lost hopes. She was so close to home, so close to seeing the fields again. The accident didn't just end her life, it froze her in a moment of anticipation.
After the accident, she was still on the platform. She was still waiting. She didn't understand for a long time. The trains were different, the people different. But she learned that November was when things were most clear. When the late train ran, and the platform was quiet, and the people who came were the lonely ones, the tired ones, the ones going somewhere without being certain they'd be welcome.
She recognizes them because she was one of them. That's the core of her connection, isn't it? Her existence isn't about terrorizing. It's about a shared experience of profound aloneness and yearning. She's a mirror for their own unspoken vulnerabilities.
She couldn't speak to them, or they couldn't hear her, but she could be present. She could stand in her cream-colored coat, the coat she'd saved for 3 months to buy, because she wanted to arrive home looking like she'd done well, and let them see her, for the moment before the lights failed, and the seeing became uncertain.
That coat, again, it's not just a detail, it's a symbol of her hopes, her desire to present herself well, to show her family she had made something of herself. It's her last, best face to the world, and it becomes the signature of her spectral presence.
She didn't fully understand why this helped, but she knew that it did. That Patricia would find her letter, Tomas would draw her face, Soraya would write something true, and Mwangi would understand that attention is its own kind of justice.
Attention is its own kind of justice. That's the central revelation of the story, isn't it? Agnes was alone on that platform, and nobody was paying attention when it mattered most. Her continued existence, her haunting, becomes a plea for that attention, a way to ensure she is finally witnessed.
It wasn't what she wanted when she was 24 and going home, but it was something. It was being witnessed. It was being found in the record. Her neat handwriting on the screen. A woman with a folded letter in her coat pocket, sitting very still.
So, her tragedy, through these encounters, is transmuted into a form of enduring connection. She won't see the fields, but she has been seen. And that seeing, that act of conscious attention from 6 strangers, changes them in turn.
The story concludes with Inspector Mwangi's return to Aldersgate Station. She marks the incident as unexplained, consistent with the historical precedent. Forrester tells her that previous officers who investigated it properly would sometimes come back to the station, just to stand on the platform for a bit.
And that's the real implication of these legacy incidents, isn't it? Even the most rational, evidence-driven people are drawn back to the site of the unexplainable. It leaves a mark, a lingering question that can't be dismissed, only acknowledged.
Wang stands on the north end of the platform, where Patricia had been. She thinks about Agnes, her cream coat, her letter, the fields, and she thinks about her own mother, who came to England from Nairobi, who may have been homesick, but kept it in a place too deep for her daughter to reach.
That's a powerful personal connection from Mwangi. It allows her to move beyond the purely factual and connect with the universal human experience of longing, of being an immigrant, of that deep, private homesickness. It humanizes Agnes's story for her in a way no police report ever could.
She realizes why the other officers came back. Because it mattered to be there. Because Aldersgate had a name now. Agnes Marsh, 24, cream coat, going home. And a name required witnesses, required people to stand in the same place and look, and not look away.
It's about collective memory, isn't it? A name, a story, a person can be lost to the indifferent march of time and bureaucracy. But the act of witnessing, of simply being there and acknowledging her, pulls her back from oblivion. It gives her a form of posthumous justice.
The 11:47 arrives. Mwangi watches it depart. The platform is empty. She turns up her collar and goes home.
And the epilogue, that final poignant detail. Agnes Marsh's letter, preserved in the archive, available by appointment. Nobody, in all the years it has been held there, has made an appointment. Until this year.
That last line, until this year, is so powerful. It suggests that Patricia Lamb, and perhaps others, have now sought out Agnes's story. It's not just a ghost story. It's a story about the enduring power of human connection, of empathy, and of the profound need to be seen and remembered.
It implies that the cycle of inattention has finally been broken, at least for some. Agnes's longing for home, her desire to be witnessed, has finally been met, not by a grand gesture, but by small, individual acts of conscious attention. It's a quiet form of triumph.
This story challenges us to think about the spaces we inhabit, the people we encounter, and how much attention we truly pay. It asks if there are other legacy incident records in our own lives, stories or people we've filed away because they don't fit our neat categories.
And it makes us wonder about the nature of presence itself. What does it mean to be truly there? And what happens to those who are unseen, unheard, whose journeys are interrupted before they reach their destination? Do they, like Agnes, linger on the periphery, waiting for someone to finally look and not look away?
The narrative is a profound meditation on empathy, memory, and the idea that sometimes the most inexplicable phenomena are simply a call for human connection. The ghost of Aldersgate Station isn't just a spectral presence. She's a reminder of what we lose when we fail to pay attention.
It's a reminder that every person has a story, a history, and a longing, and that sometimes the greatest act of kindness we can offer is simply to bear witness.
Thank you for joining us on Unseen Narratives. We hope this story has resonated with you and perhaps encouraged you to look a little closer at the world around you.
Join us next time for another journey into the stories that lie just beyond the obvious.